grammar. He can compose great music. He can find countless ways to live well. Cottage industry has proven itself in Asia as a tremendous thing. Man can produce what he needs, create what is necessary to him. He does not have to hope and believe that he must sometime leave an empire behind him. If he only was thinking more of the future before him and not the empire behind him, we would get along much better. We would have the courage to protect happiness, which now we do not have. The very happiness is the first and most expendable of all things. And for the sake of ambition or greed or a little selfishness, we are perfectly willing to sacrifice it at any moment. The Zen concept perhaps doesn't enable Western man to quit his job and live by the side of a pool, or experience the quiet joys of Thoreau on the shores of Walden. But the Zen concept can help Western man to adjust a little better to the place where he already is. It can help him to live in the world he is in. It can bring him a little more contentment with his job. It can give him a certain sense of value in simple and direct things. Perhaps it can help parents to be less nervous with their children, to recognize that there's something important in being good parents and not in trying to find a good babysitter. Everywhere, quiet thoughtfulness produces solution, and quiet thoughtfulness relaxes tension. Now, there are tensions that come also from vast collective circumstances of life. There are tensions that are almost inevitable to man. Man has one tension which probably will be very difficult for him to overcome, and that is tension of insecurity about himself. Man is always in the presence of his own dissolution. He never knows when in a second all this pattern of life which he is struggling with will resolve into emptiness. He never knows in what moment he will vanish away from the patterns to which he has become associated. Instead of this impermanence of himself regulating his conduct, it has become his great anxiety. Instead of adjusting to the absolute certainty of change, he builds every defense against this change and fights it to the bitter end, fully knowing that he must lose. This struggle, therefore, against the passing of himself has caused a great deal of psychic stress. It causes ambition to curdle. The individual to say to himself, I must make it in 5 years or 10 years, or it is too late. So man who is born to understand eternity becomes hopelessly tied up with a few dates on a watch which he wears. He becomes completely locked in time. He becomes the victim of the realization of his own transitoriousness. But he cannot survive. Therefore he must hasten. But if he cannot survive, if he cannot endure, why hasten? Because all he is doing is forcing a situation which can never be permanent anyway. If the goal is such that it cannot be meaningful unless it is achieved immediately, then it is not worth achieving at all. The individual will sometime find that through the pressures of society, through the collapse of empires, through the rising tides of political and social change, the man must ultimately return to the simpleness of knowing that he is here for the good that he can do. He is here for the happiness that he can share. The most important things in this world are the kindly things that we can do for each other, the gentle wisdom we can share, the pleasures of protection we can give. There's nothing in all of success that can bring to the individual as much happiness as a kindly, well-organized home. Here, where friends can work and live together in an atmosphere of affection, the members find fulfillment. Fulfillment that is greater than any success can ever bring. That one by one these members of happiness renounce their birthrights and go out in search of this strange, ethereal, insecure thing called success, giving up the real joy of existence for a pain that must eat at their souls as long as they live. What is the value of it all? What is there wrong under such condition with seeking a quietude beyond life, seeking to build within the self this peacefulness which enables the person to do all the things that need doing, but never to dramatize or emotionalize them. Zen on this is nothing but a strict and immediate honesty. Zen says to you, you do not have to like the people you do not like, but you do not need to pretend. If you have nothing in common with the individual, your lives will separate, unless someone makes false values and tries to hold together that which has no cohesive element within itself. It is not necessary to dislike anything. It is not particularly necessary to like anything. What is essentially necessary is to quietly accept life, accept the values of things. The immediate responsibility that comes at hand, perform it. For there is very little to it in most cases. There's the story of a Zen monk, where the community adopted a little boy who had left orphan. And the child was very small when adopted, and the old monk had to find all kinds of ways to feed the baby and take care of the child. And in the course of time, the child grew up, and finally the monk had a grown man on his hands. And the child was no relative of the monk. One day the child came to the monk and said, Reverend Father, I realize, having now achieved maturity, how great a thing you have done. Here I am no relation of yours, yet you have loved me and cared for me and guarded me and provided for me as you would your own son, with no reward, no reason for doing so. And all I can say is that I do understand and that I am grateful. The old monk said, I haven't done anything. I haven't done a thing. I walked along the road, and you were handed to me out of space. What is given to me is mine. What is mine I will do my best with. When you grow up, you will go your way. I will have lost nothing because I owned nothing. It was my right, my privilege, my duty to do what I could. But this is nothing exceptional. This is only human. What else could a person do who is human? Well, the boy didn't understand that very well, but anyway, the old monk regarded it as just simply a common task. He said if it had been a little dog with a broken leg, I would have done the same. Whatever it is, if we have natural, kindly hearts, we do the things that need doing. And we do not sit back and rationalize them and try to determine whether they are profitable or not. And if this boy had left the old monk with a rebuke and absolutely without gratitude, the old monk would not have been in the slightest annoyed or injured or defeated, nor would he have felt misunderstood. Because if he had had a little dog with a broken leg,